Just looked like maybe the defense got the better of the offense today, just in terms of maybe some of the turnovers and some of the other things.
I don't know. It's still, it's a work in progress, and I think sometimes it's hard to say if success on our part is the fact that they're not quite executing at their level, or if we're really getting what's going on. I think we have simplified some things, and I think that's helped our guys play a little bit faster. Coming back off of spring break, that was one of the things that we evaluated as a defensive staff, that, hey, let's hold things back a little bit, let's simplify what we're trying to do, let our guys master some things, let them play a little bit faster, get kind of used to the tempo the offense is playing at, and certainly having some veteran guys back, like Choate coming back, and getting John Timu out there. I think all those things kind of start to help gel things together.
Are there some other things that maybe you've learned about your group in the couple weeks off and just watching the film?
I think for us, it's really just about, I think we have a veteran group for the most part on the defensive line, with the guys that have a lot of reps behind them. And spring ball sometimes is, especially when you are an upperclassman, this is, hey, we were trying to get to the season. And when it's a new system and it's a new coaching staff, you got to take a different approach. It's now I got to go show myself all over again and prove myself all over again. And I think those guys were feeling us out for the first couple weeks. We made it very clear what we expect when we came back from break, and I think they've responded extremely well.
How hard is it going to be for a freshman or a sophomore to see the field at D-line this year?
Well, we have to play a lot of bodies because of the style of teams that we play against. So while it's going to be difficult, I would think, for a freshman to break into the starting lineup, there's probably going to be some freshmen that are going to play. We signed 7 defensive linemen in this class. And well, 6, but Jamie Bryant was in the previous class, but he's here now too. So that's a lot of guys. We're going to have some of those guys step up. And you would think that out of a group that large, you're going to have 1 or 2 that's going to be ready to come in and contribute in some way, shape, or form.
What do you think about the depth you have there, just right now, just the guys who are here?
I mean, you always need a lot of D linemen. I mean, it's a very demanding position. Those guys take a tremendous amount of abuse up front. The style of play that we have in this league in particular is it's very up tempo, and those guys get worn out. And so if you don't have depth at the defensive line, you're not going to have a very good football team. So we're blessed in that we have some guys that have played, and we brought some guys in to try to bring that depth as well.
Dana Shelton talked about Elijah Paul's pushing them right now. What are you seeing from Paul?
Yeah, I think he's a young guy who's been in the program a little bit, and he's making, he's one of those guys that, like a lot of young guys, he has a really good day and then he has a day that's not so good. And so what we're looking for him is for him to develop consistency. And having a mentor like Danny, I think that's a real positive thing for him.
Jeff, you mentioned Jamie Bryant. What were your thoughts when you saw film of him, knowing that you could get him for the second half, and maybe an initial impression of him?
Yeah, so I actually recruited Jamie when I was at Washington State. So I was very familiar with him. I saw him play against Linden in the state championship game his senior year. Knew quite a bit about him. So I just wasn't quite sure what the situation was in terms of the gray shirt deal, and what, I had to kind of do some research to find out what the agreement was that he had with the previous coaching staff. And so I had a meeting with he and his mom, and kind of a couple of reasons. Number one, to discover if this was something he still wanted to do, and make sure that we were comfortable with the situation, and all that panned out. And so Jamie's a good kid. We're excited to have him here. He's from a great program. Always wanted to be a dog, and those are the type of guys that we need to keep in state.
When you were evaluating him over at Washington State, what did you see in him? What did you like?
He's very athletic. I mean, he's got position versatility. He can play a lot of different positions. He was only about 240 in high school. He's gained a bunch of weight. We've got to kind of lean him back up, but I think he's a guy that can play in a 3-4. He can play a 5 technique, and a 4 down front. He can play either nose or 3, and he's a long levered guy who's got very good feet. So he's going to give us some things that we're going to need to have in this league.
Would he be a guy normally to be like an instant red shirt given, or is it
that won't even come into determination until we get through fall camp, because there's so many things that can happen between now and then. And he's got a long way to go. I mean, he's just getting out. He's still not even in shoulder pads today. He's got a couple more days of acclimatization to go through. So it really is up to him. What's best for him and what's best for us as a program will determine whether he plays early or not.
Obviously, you have no depth chart at this point, but it must be an indication, obviously, of the depth. And, you got to feel good about the depth of a guy like Hauli has been running a lot with the second group at this point.
Yeah, and a lot of that too is, I mean, he was in Tahiti while we were going through the off-season program, so he understands that he's got to come in and he's got to prove himself just like any other kid in this program right now, because we're new, he's new, and he gets it, and he's a very mature young man. He's a great person, he's a great player, and I think that he'll find a way to find himself on the field. So.
What have you seen out of Andrew Hudson?
He's had a really, really impressive spring thus far. I think he really has approached this as a kind of a fresh start for himself, and I think he's got the right mindset. He's worked really hard, and I think he's, I know he's a guy that's going to contribute for us in the fall. We good?
Thanks.